If you're over 60 and you care about living longer, staying sharp, and keeping your muscles strong, chances are you've heard that avocados are a superfood. And it's true, they're rich in monounsaturated fats, packed with antioxidants like lutein, and full of potassium and fiber. All of this supports brain health, heart function, and even healthy aging at the cellular level. But, and this is critical, how you eat avocado can make or break its health benefits. In fact, most older adults make subtle mistakes that actually cancel out the anti-aging effects of this powerful fruit. Some of these errors can accelerate inflammation, disrupt your blood sugar, or even impair nutrient absorption, and that's exactly what we're trying to avoid as we age. As a scientist focused on aging and longevity, I'm here to walk you through the 6 biggest mistakes seniors make with avocado, and more importantly, how to avoid them using the latest research in nutritional biochemistry, metabolism, and aging science. Because it's not about trends, it's about cellular health, mitochondrial resilience, and keeping the biological clock ticking in the right direction. In the last decade, avocado toast has become a nutritional icon, often seen as the epitome of healthy eating. And for good reason, avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, fiber, potassium, magnesium, and a wide spectrum of antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin. These compounds support cardiovascular health, reduce oxidative stress, and enhance mitochondrial efficiency, all crucial to slowing the biological aging process. But despite its reputation, how you consume avocado matters just as much as the avocado itself. Pairing this nutrient-dense food with ultra-processed bread or crackers, especially refined white flour varieties, can seriously undercut its anti-aging benefits. The science here is quite clear. Refined carbohydrates, the type found in white bread, conventional crackers, and bagels, cause rapid spikes in blood glucose. When blood sugar rises, insulin is released to shuttle that sugar into cells. While this is a normal metabolic process, frequent glucose surges, particularly in older adults with diminished insulin sensitivity, trigger a cascade of damaging biological responses. Chronically high insulin levels accelerate cellular aging by promoting inflammation, increasing the accumulation of visceral fat, and suppressing autophagy, the natural recycling mechanism that clears out damaged cellular components. When you combine a healthy fat like avocado with a refined carbohydrate, your body receives mixed signals. On one hand, the avocado provides fats and fiber that stabilize blood sugar and nourish cells. On the other, the refined bread undermines that balance by pushing glucose levels high and fast, which in turn spikes insulin and halts fat oxidation. Instead of encouraging metabolic flexibility, the ability to switch between fat and glucose for energy, this combination reinforces glucose dependence. That's a serious problem for aging adults, as metabolic inflexibility is closely linked with sarcopenia, cognitive decline, and chronic diseases like type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Moreover, high glycemic meals activate what we call the M2R pathway, a cellular growth signal. While M2R is essential for muscle maintenance and immune response, overactivation, especially in a nutrient surplus state, accelerates aging by suppressing autophagy and increasing the risk of cancer. Avocados alone, because they are rich in fat and low in sugar, do not activate M2R aggressively, but when paired with refined carbs, the overall caloric load and insulin response can tip this pathway into overdrive, especially in a postprandial state where insulin and glucose are both elevated. It's important to note that older adults are more susceptible to these metabolic insults. As we age, our cells accumulate damage in mitochondria, in DNA, and in protein structures like tau and amyloid. Our ability to repair and recover from metabolic stress decreases. The pancreas becomes less efficient at releasing insulin. Muscle cells become less responsive to it. The result is insulin resistance, the quiet accelerant of aging. And that's why maintaining stable blood sugar is not just a diabetic concern, it's a longevity imperative. Let's take a closer look at what happens in the bloodstream after eating a typical healthy breakfast of avocado toast on white bread. The bread causes a sharp increase in glucose, and the insulin spike follows. This suppresses lipolysis, your body's ability to burn fat for fuel. The insulin surge also drives any excess glucose into fat storage, especially around the liver and abdomen. Meanwhile, the beneficial fats from the avocado are not metabolized optimally. The net effect is that the antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties of avocado are drowned out by the insulin and inflammatory response to refined carbs. From a nutritional biochemistry standpoint, this is a mismatch. The body is best served when macronutrients complement each other, not compete. Healthy fats like those in avocado should be paired with fiber-rich, low-glycemic foods that support insulin sensitivity and slow digestion. For example, pairing avocado with high-fiber vegetables like arugula, kale, or fermented vegetables enhances nutrient absorption without disturbing metabolic balance. Even pairing it with legumes, lentils, or wild salmon supports a metabolic state that promotes repair over degeneration. So what can we do instead? Replace refined bread with low glycemic alternatives. Think flaxseed crackers, chia wraps, or sprouted grain breads made without added sugars. Better yet, ditch the bread altogether and enjoy avocado with a spoonful of olive oil, a pinch of sea salt, and a squeeze of lemon. This combination supports mitochondrial energy production, reduces post-meal glucose spikes, and maintains the type of metabolic harmony associated with longer lifespan and reduced disease risk. In our lab and others studying aging, we found that small dietary choices made consistently have an outsized impact on biological age. Every time you avoid a glucose spike, you're protecting your endothelial lining, preserving your telomeres, and keeping your mitochondria humming. In other words, when you skip the processed bread under your avocado, you're doing more than cutting carbs. You're sending molecular signals that promote longevity. Aging is not a passive process. It's a series of choices repeated daily that either drive inflammation and dysfunction or support repair, regeneration, and resilience. The way we combine our foods matters deeply, especially as we pass the 6th decade of life. So enjoy your avocado, just not with white toast. Avocados are undeniably a nutritional powerhouse, rich in oleic acid, fiber, potassium, folate, and a wide range of carotenoids and polyphenols. For anyone concerned with longevity, mitochondrial health, and metabolic resilience, it's easy to view avocados as a daily staple, but there's a persistent misconception, particularly among older adults striving to eat healthfully. If a food is healthy, then more of it must be better. This thinking is not only flawed, it can be counterproductive, especially when we're dealing with calorie-dense foods like avocado. Let's start with a simple but often overlooked fact. One medium avocado contains roughly 250 to 300 calories. That's equivalent to a full meal for some people. For older adults, who often experience a natural decline in basal metabolic rate and physical activity, consuming multiple avocados per day, even with good intentions, can quietly lead to caloric excess. And excess energy, regardless of source, drives nutrient surplus, which interferes with some of the most important cellular processes that defend against aging. One of those processes is autophagy, our body's way of cleaning up damaged cells and dysfunctional proteins. This recycling system is crucial for keeping the body youthful and resistant to age-related diseases like neurodegeneration, cancer, and insulin resistance. Autophagy is stimulated by energy scarcity, periods when your body senses that nutrients are low and it must optimize internal resources. Overeating, even from healthy sources, suppresses autophagy by activating nutrient-sensing pathways like mTOR and IGF-1. These pathways are useful in short bursts. They promote growth and repair, but when chronically activated, they shift the body into a pro-aging, pro-inflammatory state. In longevity research, we often study the benefits of caloric restriction and intermittent fasting. These interventions extend lifespan across multiple species by increasing stress resilience, enhancing DNA repair, improving mitochondrial efficiency, and reducing chronic inflammation. The takeaway from this research isn't that we need to starve ourselves, it's that mild energy stress, in the form of fewer calories or time-restricted eating, enhances cellular maintenance systems. But if you're regularly consuming high-calorie foods like avocado in excess, you may be sending the exact opposite signal that energy is abundant and it's time to grow, not repair. This is particularly important for individuals over 60. When metabolic efficiency declines and body composition changes, we lose muscle more easily, gain visceral fat more rapidly, and become less insulin sensitive. Excess calories, even from Unprocessed fats can accumulate as intra-abdominal fat, the kind most strongly associated with inflammation, cardiovascular disease, and early mortality. Remember, it's not just about total weight. It's about where the fat is stored and what it signals. Visceral fat secretes pro-inflammatory cytokines, including interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha, which accelerate aging across nearly every tissue in the body. Avocados also contain a significant amount of omega-9 fats, specifically oleic acid, which is beneficial in moderation. But when consumed in large quantities, it can displace the balance of other essential fats, such as omega-3 ces, which are already underconsumed in older populations. This imbalance can skew the inflammatory response, tipping the scales in favor of chronic low-grade inflammation, the very phenomenon we aim to mitigate through dietary intervention. Another underappreciated aspect of avocado overconsumption is satiety displacement. Older adults often have lower appetites and limited meal windows. If you fill up on large portions of avocado, you may unintentionally crowd out other nutrient-dense foods critical to aging well, like cruciferous vegetables, wild-caught fish, fermented foods, or collagen-rich bone broth. Longevity isn't just about what you avoid, it's also about what you include. A biologically diverse diet activates a wide range of protective genes and repair pathways, and overconsuming one food, no matter how healthy, narrows that variety. So what's the optimal amount? For most adults, half an avocado per day provides a powerful dose of beneficial fats, fiber, and micronutrients without pushing you into energy excess. It's enough to support brain health, enhance absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, and protect your cardiovascular system while still allowing space in your diet for other longevity-enhancing foods. Ultimately, the key principle here is hormesis, the idea that a small stressor can make you stronger, while too much of a good thing becomes harmful. Avocado, when consumed in moderate quantities, fits beautifully into a hormetic framework. It challenges your metabolism just enough to adapt without overwhelming it. But when eaten mindlessly or in large volumes, it shifts from being a functional food to a source of silent sabotage. Longevity is not about chasing superfoods. It's about understanding how nutrients interact with our biology at different stages of life. It's about recognizing that cellular balance, not excess, is what keeps the clock ticking in your favor. So next time you reach for that second avocado, pause, consider what your cells are hearing. Are they getting the message to thrive, or the message to store and stagnate? Avocados are a marvel of natural nutrition, dense in oleic acid, fiber, magnesium, and plant compounds that support everything from cellular membrane integrity to neuroprotection. But the way we store, slice, and consume avocados, particularly as we age, determines whether we're truly getting those benefits or ingesting a degraded version of them that may quietly accelerate aging. One of the most common and overlooked mistakes older adults make is eating avocados that are either overripe and oxidized or underripe and nutritionally incomplete. Let's begin with what happens on a molecular level when an avocado oxidizes, that is, when it turns brown and soft after being exposed to air. The browning we see is not just a cosmetic issue. It's a sign that the fats and polyphenols in the avocado have undergone oxidative degradation. The monounsaturated fats that give avocado its longevity-promoting powers are relatively stable, but they're not invincible. When exposed to oxygen, light, or heat, especially once the flesh is cut, these fats begin to break down into lipid peroxides and aldehydes. These are not just inert byproducts. Lipid peroxides are highly reactive molecules that can damage cell membranes, impair mitochondrial function, and accelerate DNA damage, the very processes we associate with aging and age-related diseases. Oxidized fats are a known contributor to inflammaging, the chronic low-grade inflammation that creeps into the body as we get older. Studies in nutritional biochemistry have shown that consuming rancid or oxidized oils can trigger oxidative stress responses in the liver and gut, even in small quantities. For an older adult whose antioxidant defenses are already waning due to reduced glutathione levels, declining NAD+, and slower mitochondrial repair, this creates the perfect storm for accelerated tissue degeneration. Now, consider the typical behavior many of us fall into. We cut open an avocado, eat half, leave the other half in the fridge with a little plastic wrap or foil, and come back to it the next day. It's brown, maybe even a bit mushy. But we scrape off the top and tell ourselves it's still fine. Unfortunately, the damage has already occurred. Oxidation is not limited to the surface. Once the process starts, it can penetrate deeper into the fruit, especially when stored improperly. This is not just lost flavor, it's lost bioactivity and worse, potential harm. On the other end of the spectrum is the underripe avocado, firm, rubbery, and resistant to a spoon. It hasn't oxidized, but it also hasn't developed its full nutritional profile. Many of the bioactive compounds in avocado, including its antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin, become more bioavailable only after ripening. During the ripening process, enzymatic activity increases, breaking down tough fibers and making nutrients easier to absorb. Eating an unripe avocado means you're not only missing out on taste and texture, you're likely underutilizing its health potential. For seniors, this matters greatly. Aging bodies often have diminished digestive capacity. Hydrochloric acid levels in the stomach drop, enzyme production slows, and bile flow can become sluggish, all of which impair nutrient absorption. If you consume an unripe avocado, the tough fibers and low bioavailability of its nutrients may make it harder to digest and utilize. Instead of supporting mitochondrial function and reducing inflammation, it becomes another source of gastrointestinal stress, bloating, gas, or discomfort that undermines the whole point of eating it in the first place. What's the optimal strategy? First, learn to spot perfect ripeness. A ripe avocado should yield slightly to gentle pressure, not mushy, not rock hard. The skin may darken slightly, and the small stem nub at the top should pop off easily to reveal green underneath, not brown. If you're not ready to eat your avocado the day you buy it, store it in the refrigerator before it becomes overly soft. This slows enzymatic activity and oxidation, preserving nutrient quality. Once an avocado is cut, you must minimize its exposure to oxygen. A few simple techniques help: brush the flesh with lemon juice or olive oil, cover it tightly with plastic wrap pressed directly against the surface, and store it in an airtight container. Better yet, try storing it with a chunk of onion. The sulfur compounds in onions can inhibit browning enzymes. But remember, no matter how clever the method, the clock is ticking. Ideally, cut avocados should be eaten within 24 hours for maximum benefit and minimal oxidative damage. Longevity isn't about perfection, it's about pattern. When we consistently consume oxidized or underripe foods, we reinforce molecular pathways associated with damage, dysfunction, and aging. But when we respect the biology of ripeness and the chemistry of oxidation, we align with nature's built-in design for nutrient absorption and cellular resilience. In my lab, and others around the world studying the biology of aging, we focus intensely on what triggers the body's repair systems versus what overwhelms them. Eating a ripe, fresh avocado triggers the right signals: stable fats, rich antioxidants, and fibers that support a healthy microbiome. Eating a browned, oxidized one, that's a subtle act of sabotage. So the next time you see a browning avocado in your fridge, ask yourself, are you feeding your body information to repair or to rust? The difference lies not just in what you eat, but in how fresh, how ripe, and how alive that food still is. When it comes to aging well, the details matter. Not just what you eat, but how your body processes what you eat. One of the most overlooked principles in nutritional science, especially in older adults, is bioavailability, the proportion of nutrients your body can actually absorb and use. And this is precisely where avocados shine, but only if you use them correctly. The healthy fats in avocados aren't just good on their own, they act as a delivery system for key vitamins and antioxidants found in other foods. Yet many people, especially those over 60, eat avocados in isolation, slicing them onto a plate or spooning them straight from the shell. While this is still beneficial, it misses a vital opportunity, enhancing the absorption of fat-soluble nutrients, especially from vegetables and herbs that fight aging at the cellular level. Let's take a step back. Fat-soluble nutrients, vitamins A, D, E, and K, as well as carotenoids like lutein, zeaxanthin, and beta-carotene, require dietary fat for proper absorption. Without it, these compounds simply pass through the digestive system and are excreted unused. Avocados, rich in monounsaturated fats, create the perfect internal environment for these nutrients to cross intestinal walls and reach the bloodstream. But if you're not pairing avocado with foods rich in these compounds, or worse, eating vegetables without any fat at all, you're effectively bypassing one of the body's most powerful anti-aging mechanisms. This matters enormously as we age. Our digestive efficiency declines over time. The production of enzymes, bile, and stomach acid all fall, meaning the body is less capable of breaking down food and extracting micronutrients. Add to that age-related changes in gut lining permeability and microbiome diversity, and nutrient absorption becomes a real concern. Without strategic food pairings, even a so-called healthy diet can leave cells undernourished and vulnerable to oxidative damage. Consider this: studies from Ohio State University found that adding avocado to a salad increased the absorption of carotenoids by over 15 times. That's not a typo, 15 times. Carotenoids are essential for protecting the eyes, brain, and skin from age-related decline. Lutein and zeaxanthin, in particular, are associated with lower risks of macular degeneration, cognitive impairment, and even cardiovascular disease. Yet many seniors consume these antioxidants without the fat needed to activate their bioavailability. The implications for longevity are profound. We know from research in aging biology that oxidative stress, the buildup of damaging free radicals, is one of the primary drivers of DNA mutations, mitochondrial dysfunction, and chronic inflammation. Antioxidants like carotenoids and vitamin E are some of the body's most powerful defenses against this process, but they are only effective if they are absorbed. Without a fat source like avocado, the majority of these compounds never reach your cells. Let's take an example. You eat a colorful plate of raw carrots, spinach, and tomatoes, all high in beta-carotene, lutein, and lycopene. But if you skip the healthy fat, your body absorbs very little of those compounds. Add half an avocado to that plate, or mash it into a vinaigrette, and suddenly those anti-aging phytochemicals can enter the bloodstream, reach the brain, and be incorporated into cell membranes, where they fight free radicals and protect your DNA. This isn't just theory. In practice, this is a small, repeatable decision that can slow biological aging. The inclusion of healthy fats with plant foods flips a metabolic switch, turning a good meal into a longevity-enhancing one. For those focused on long-term health, the strategy is simple. Use avocado as a catalyst. Don't eat it alone. Use it to carry nutrients from other foods deeper into your body. Mix avocado into a spinach salad or mash it into a roasted red pepper spread. Combine it with kale, with turmeric, with tomatoes, and watch your body's absorption and utilization of these healing compounds multiply. Even traditional cultures understood this. In Mediterranean diets, olive oil, another monounsaturated fat, is never consumed alone. It's drizzled over vegetables, legumes, and herbs, not just for taste, but to unlock the nutrition hidden within those plants. Avocado performs a similar function, and perhaps even more efficiently given its fiber content and nutrient matrix. In the lab, we often speak about signaling molecules, molecules that tell cells what to do. Many nutrients are exactly that. They act as signals for repair, detoxification, and inflammation control. But without a way to absorb and deliver those signals, it's like shouting into a void. The body never receives the message, and over time that silence accelerates aging. So for older adults striving to eat clean and live long, the message is clear: don't skip the fat. Avocado isn't just food, it's a biochemical enabler. It tells your cells, here comes something important, use it well. When paired with the right foods, it doesn't just nourish, it transforms the meal into a powerful longevity tool. Small choices, like what you eat together, have exponential effects over time. Think less about what's trendy and more about what's bioavailable. That's how we turn food into medicine, and aging into something we can influence, not just endure. Avocados are often thought of as one of the cleanest fruits. Their thick, rugged skin gives a sense of natural armor, an impression that whatever contaminants exist on the surface can't possibly affect the flesh inside. But that's a dangerous assumption, especially for those over 60 whose bodies are less capable of neutralizing certain toxic exposures. One of the most overlooked mistakes older adults make is failing to wash the skin of conventionally grown avocados before cutting into them. At first glance, it may seem harmless, but the risk isn't about eating the peel, it's about what happens when the knife cuts through the skin and carries surface contaminants directly into the part we eat. Let's start with the post-harvest treatment process. Conventionally grown avocados are often coated in synthetic waxes to preserve shelf life and improve appearance. In addition to waxes, the skin may contain residues from fungicides and other agricultural chemicals used during cultivation or storage. These residues, though deemed within safe limits by regulatory agencies, are not entirely inert. Many of them are endocrine-disrupting chemicals (EDCs), which interfere with hormonal function in subtle but cumulative ways. For a young, healthy person with a robust detoxification system, the impact might be negligible. But for someone over 60 whose liver function has slowed and whose DNA repair mechanisms have dulled, even low-level exposure can tilt the balance toward inflammation, oxidative stress, and mitochondrial dysfunction. Let's make this tangible. When a knife presses through the unwashed peel of an avocado, it doesn't just slice the skin, it drags micro-residues into the fruit's interior. This isn't hypothetical. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has acknowledged this concern, warning consumers to wash avocados thoroughly under running water. Even though the skin is inedible, it is still a potential vehicle for contamination. Some pathogens, including Listeria, monocytogenes, and Salmonella, have been found on avocado skins. And while cooking can kill most bacteria, avocados are almost always eaten raw, giving any transferred microbes direct access to the gut. From a longevity perspective, this matters because chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the central drivers of biological aging. It contributes to a range of age-associated conditions, including cardiovascular disease, neurodegeneration, and insulin resistance. Exposure to chemical residues and environmental toxins, even in trace amounts, has been shown to disrupt gut barrier function, alter microbiome composition, and trigger immune responses that fuel this inflammation. The body perceives many of these chemical agents as foreign invaders, setting off a cascade of molecular damage that burdens the system over time. More concerning is the role of some of these agrochemicals in epigenetic dysregulation, the modification of gene expression without changing the DNA sequence. Certain pesticides can influence how genes involved in detoxification, DNA repair, and apoptosis, programmed cell death, are expressed. For older adults, whose epigenetic landscape is already shifting with age, this interference can tip the balance in unfavorable ways. We know from research in epigenetic clocks, the very measures that predict biological versus chronological age, that environmental exposures accelerate aging at the level of gene expression. Washing an avocado seems like a small act, but it's one that can help reduce a subtle yet significant source of epigenetic stress. The good news is that this is a highly modifiable risk. Washing the avocado under running water while scrubbing the skin with a vegetable brush can remove much of the surface contamination. Not all, but enough to reduce exposure meaningfully. You don't need any fancy produce washes, just friction, water, and awareness. And if possible, opt for organic avocados while they still require washing. They are far less likely to carry synthetic pesticide residues. Interestingly, because of their thick skin, organic avocados are often not significantly more expensive than conventional ones, but the payoff in reduced chemical exposure can be substantial.